Hey, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back into Crypto's News. It's me, Omar Bam, aka Crypto, ready to make sure that you stay on top of what's happening in cryptocurrencies to make the best decision for yourself, avoid scams, and stay on top of this rapidly evolving space. To be part of the conversation, and one of the best ways to do that is to be part of the live stream. So thank you guys for those of you who are showing up, Meredith, Carlos, stream catchers, those of you who support by watching these videos afterwards. I know nowadays you have quite a choice of different YouTubers to check out and to watch to get an overview of what's going on in this space. But I thank you for tuning into mine. Means a lot. Thanks, guys. So let's start off by looking at the prices. We do have quite a few things to get into, so let's dive right in. So we have Bitcoin at $19,407. It's down 0.4%, basically flat. You have Ethereum at $1,324, same, down 0.4%. They do seem to be in a lot more lockstep ever since Ethereum has had its merge. Heavy correlation there, although I'm seeing that there's less correlation with the stock market, which had a bit more negative of a day, you could say. It was kind of the case actually where Bitcoin and Ethereum and cryptocurrencies were holding up well today following a speech by Lael Brainerd of the Federal Reserve. They were holding up nicely, and then right before the close they dropped off somewhat, but still pretty much trading range bound as we head into this fine weekend. What was mentioned here by one of the heads of the Fed was just reiterating basically their stance, the same things that they've been saying. I'll just jump right down to this bottom paragraph, which basically sums it up. It will take time for the full effect of tighter financial conditions to work through different sectors and to bring inflation down. We know the Federal Reserve has been tightening. Monetary policy will need to be restrictive for some time to have confidence that inflation is moving back to target. For these reasons, we are committed to avoiding pullback prematurely. That's a big one right there that's being dissected and taken out of this. That basically they do not want to stop pulling back prematurely. So a sign that they're not going to be reversing course on the rate hikes, at least for the short term. At least that's what they're saying anyway. And there are a range of estimates around the appropriate destination of the target range for the cycle. So what the upper end is a variable. It's basically opinion from different members of the Fed. Proceeding deliberately and in a data-dependent manner will enable us to learn how economic activity and inflation are adjusting to the cumulative tightening and to update our assessments of the level of the policy rate that will need to be maintained for some time to bring inflation to 2%. So really a big nothing, which is why the markets are pretty much flat, but nothing extremely hawkish, just reiterating what they've been saying before. Although it is of note, and maybe this is possibly something else that played a role in prices not climbing, if anything, dropping a little bit, was that this was being looked at, which is one of the main ways, the preferred method for looking at inflation from the Federal Reserve, the personal consumption expenditures price index, excluding food and energy, which to me is kind of ridiculous because that's a lot of where our money goes. The personal consumer spends quite a bit on food and energy. It's quite insane. I remember seeing $5.50 being the average for gas for a gallon here in LA last week. I've seen now over $6, actually around $6.40. I saw it yesterday, $6.46. So a baffling increase in energy. So obviously that's going to impact the consumer. But what's being looked at here is that we actually got hotter in August, the latest print that we've gotten on this inflation. So we had 4.7% year over year in July, and now we got 4.9% here in August, so creeping higher. It had been higher back in June, dropped off in July, and now it looks like it's climbing again. So a sign that they may have to continue to hike, and that's exactly what we're hearing from the Fed as they say that they want to tighten to 2%. Although I continue to hear warnings, and if you look at just more mainstream stock news or anything like that, there was, for example, a Bank of America strategist coming out today and basically warning what would happen if the Fed continues to hike rates at the same rate that they're doing. So I think for the most part, those in the know realize that it probably is not going to go up to 20% interest rates before something does break, just like we saw in the UK with the pension fund crisis, which is quite insane. So let's continue on here. So Digitex. So they basically were a derivatives platform in cryptocurrency to move to the crypto-specific news. We had the founder, Adam Todd of Digitex, being charged by the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, for multiple violations, not registering with them and running an illegal crypto derivatives trading platform. This was filed in the Southern District of Florida. So it was against Adam Todd, the founder, and a bunch of the corporate entities of Digitex. So Digitex LLC, Digitex Ltd, Digitex Software Ltd, and Blockster Holdings Ltd. So this is notable, and the reason I bring it up, even though there are always strings of violations and regulators coming after different companies, is because it's the first time that we've seen the CFTC charge a DeFi platform, is what this is being called. Although it shouldn't to be too much of a surprise. Former CFTC commissioner, it says here on CoinDesk, Dan Berkovitz foreshadowed this kind of action in a June 2021 speech where he stated that not only do I think unlicensed DeFi markets for derivative instruments are a bad idea, I also do not see how they are legal under the CEA. The Digitex action demonstrates that the CFTC is focused on both intermediaries that offer margin and financing to retail crypto asset traders as well as platforms. Could this be a problem for accessing different DeFi applications? Absolutely. If you're expecting that Uniswap is going to have to register with the CFTC, that could pose some sort of issue. At least it could mean that front ends could have issues in the future or something like that. So personally, I'm not rooting for this kind of enforcement action that we're seeing right now. And hopefully it doesn't lead to the more utilized, truly decentralized platforms being sought after as well and being targets. The CFTC is seeking, in this case with Digitex, civil monetary penalties, disgorgement, restitution, and trading and registration bans against the founder Todd and the Digitex related entities. Woo! What's up, Soda? Yeah, thank God it's Friday. Survived another week. So I had remarked how Celsius had put forward a motion after the committee for unsecured creditors had said, hey, you guys have funds customer funds that are in different baskets, right? You have those that were earning a yield in the earn accounts, and then you had, for example, the custody accounts, which did not earn a yield, and customers should be entitled to those. You do not have ownership of those tokens at all, despite changing terms of service and everything else. So you have to return those funds to their customers. So Celsius seems to have agreed. They sent out an email saying, okay, well, we talked to our lawyers and it looks like up to a certain limit, around $7,700 of funds that were deposited on these custody accounts. If they were transferred from like the earn account, those could be returned to folks. And if they were pure custody accounts, those could all be returned back to folks. Since I think the total was only about $22 million that was being held in these kinds of accounts, the custody and withhold accounts or whatever at Celsius, it looks like there was going to be a hearing on October 6th. It's still happening. A hearing on October 6th to see if customers will be able to get that amount of money back. But the United States trustee has formed an obstacle today to this happening. The U.S. Department of Justice's William K. Harrington has filed to block that motion, along with another one that was basically Celsius saying, hey, can we liquidate $23 million worth of stable coins that we have on our platform to continue to fund our operations? And this trustee is seeking to deny either the custody withhold accounts getting funds back or the stable coins being liquidated for Celsius to fund the operations, as you can see here. If we look at the introduction, it says the motions are premature and should be denied, these motions on October 6th, until after the examiner report is filed. First, the withdrawal motion seeks to impulsively distribute funds to one group of creditors in advance of a fulsome understanding of the debtor's cryptocurrency holdings, relationship of the debtor's currency balance sheet to cryptocurrency deposited by its various group of creditors, and transfers of cryptocurrency between and among different types of accounts. Second, the stablecoin motion seeks to liquidate stablecoins held by the debtors without providing information regarding ownership, segregation, or the impact of such sale on later distribution to creditors who may have stablecoins on deposit with the debtors. Indeed, the facts necessary to evaluate these motions are the exact facts identified by the examiner motion as lacking transparency, and that the examiner is required to investigate and analyze in the examiner's report. So any sort of distribution or sale at this juncture could inadvertently impact or limit distribution to other creditors in this case. So in a nutshell, they're seeking to have all of this stopped, and we will have to wait until October 6th at that hearing to see what will become. But I thought it was relevant if you were hoping to get some funds back from either custody or withhold accounts, since I had talked about that before. Spain. So you had the largest Telefonica company in Spain. At their conference, you had this company called Bit2Me teasing this out. They teased out a picture of someone holding up a Bitcoin logo in front of Telefonica at their conference and teased, what do you think that we are preparing with Telefonica? And it's come out exactly what it was that they were preparing. It was the tech marketplace. So basically a store that Telefonica runs. It's called Tu, which means you in Spanish. They are now accepting cryptocurrencies, as they say here, a revolutionary payment method. I have translated this with Google Translate. So it's quite simple to do. You add up between 200 and 500 euros worth of products to your cart, accept terms and conditions, choose one of the various cryptocurrencies they accept. There are 8: Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ripple, Tether, so Tether's Tron token, USD coin, and Tron. So you got some Tron fans over with this company there in Spain. So they're partnered there with Bit2Me Commerce in order to enable this. Bit2Me is going to be accepting the cryptocurrency. After you agree to that cryptocurrency that you want to pay in, they'll basically show you where to send the funds, and you can fund that from a private wallet, whatever kind of digital cryptocurrency wallet that you're using. And it automatically gets converted to euros. I know a big Boo-hoo again. Opportunities always to accept cryptocurrencies natively, especially since Telefonica, this Telefonica company too, they are apparently investors in Bit2Me Commerce, which is the one that is enabling this transfer to happen. You can think of them kind of like BitPay. So they obviously understand that they could be getting some sort of funds, that there could be growing value for these cryptocurrencies by holding them, and yet instead they just accept euros. But I guess that's usually how it works, just to make it easier for accounting for many of these kinds of corporations. But this was something being brought up today, so I wanted to make sure you knew that you could buy yourself an electric scooter now and receive it by the 4th of October if you wanted to pay in cryptocurrencies at this website. It might be useful to you. I don't know if you're in Spain and this is something that you actually use, but I do wonder what the big e-commerce players are in Spain. I doubt it's something like this, but it very well could be, I suppose. I'm not very familiar with the day-to-day living, unfortunately, in Spain right now. So there is this ongoing feud because Elon Musk was supposed to purchase Twitter and then he backed out of the deal. And now all of these text messages of Elon Musk talking to various parties are being revealed, as you can see here on TechCrunch. A new particularly juicy document has surfaced in discovery leading up to the Elon Musk versus Twitter trial slated to take place in a few weeks. Behold, a trove of texts between Musk and key figures at Twitter like founder Jack Dorsey, board chair Brett Taylor, and current CEO Parag Agrawal, and other casual chats with investor Jason Calacanis and even Joe Rogan. There's a lot to unpack, but I want to go ahead and jump to the one that is probably relevant to you if you are aware that a lot of the pertinent cryptocurrency information is disseminated on crypto Twitter. So it's just basically Twitter, but if you're following a lot of crypto accounts and your feed is crypto, that's what you call crypto Twitter for the most part. So apparently Elon Musk might have had plans to make some sort of version of Twitter that used Dogecoin for payments to post. Check it out. Count your blessings that you don't need to pay Doge to tweet. Elon Musk has had some controversial ideas for Twitter, like verifying all human users and making the algorithm open source, although this was Dorsey's idea first. But perhaps his worst idea yet is to combat bot spam by making people pay Dogecoin to tweet. I have an idea for blockchain social media system that does both payments and short text messages / links like Twitter. So it's not trying to change Twitter, but something like Twitter. You have to pay a tiny amount to register your message on the chain, which will cut out the vast majority of spam and bots. There is no throat to choke, so free speech is guaranteed. And a few days later, on April 13th, Musk's idea took a greater shape when he said, "My plan B is a blockchain-based version of Twitter where the tweets are embedded in the transaction comments." He told Steve Davis, the president of his Boring company. So you'd have to pay maybe 0.1 Doge per comment or repost of that comment. Thankfully, Musk later concluded that a blockchain-based Twitter would not be feasible at this time. And as others have said, what kind of person would use that version of Twitter when you can use Twitter for free? The average person doesn't really understand Sybil attacks and how to prevent them. They just know that they're going to have to be going through a lot of friction in order to acquire this cryptocurrency, let alone pay with it, make sure that their wallets are always topped off. Maybe that's why Elon Musk backed up off of this. Others are saying, it's kind of weird because Elon Musk is just, it's just odd what he's doing with Dogecoin. It's like he knows that he missed kind of the shot to be a big Bitcoiner by being on board early or having founded a sort of cryptocurrency like that. So instead, he's just attached himself to Dogecoin as his big claim to fame and influence across the cryptocurrency industry. Let me know your ideas. I don't know what you guys think about that, but this does seem like it has been scrapped, this blockchain Twitter that Elon Musk was working on with Dogecoin. So this was interesting. I saw this yesterday and I did want to bring it up to you. So Gemini is one of the leading crypto exchanges in the United States, and they seem to have done an interesting thing with this person's account, closing it. First, they asked for a lot of information. They wrote here to David, who considers Gemini to be an enemy of the chain. "Hi, David," after he had his account frozen. Thank you for being an active user on the Gemini platform. During a recent account review, we noticed that you have transacted with wallet addresses associated with mixing services. From September 11, 2020 to August 6, 2022, there have been several withdrawals to wallet addresses associated with mixing service Wasabi Wallet, where you can mix from right within that wallet. Please explain the purpose of these transactions and how you are utilizing the Gemini platform. This is probably the most popular mixing service for Bitcoin these days. Mixers are websites or software used to obscure the source or destination of a user's cryptocurrency deposit and withdrawal. Mixers typically pool incoming funds from many users and redistribute those funds with no direct connection back to the original source. While mixers can be used to maintain privacy, they have also historically been used to launder illicit funds, such as funds going to or coming from darknet markets. Gemini is committed to building a bridge to the future of money, and accordingly, we seek to ensure that our exchange community and industry continue to thrive. I guess they're just trying to say we're scared of the regulators and we want to continue to operate. So we have to be overly cautious. As a valued member of our community, please continue to abide by our user agreement. We appreciate your interest in Gemini and thank you for your prompt attention, yada, yada. Please respond if you have any questions, onwards and upwards. So he wrote, I use Wasabi Wallet, this is David, to address Bitcoin's privacy/fungibility problem. Hi, David. Thank you for providing this information. I am working with my team to resolve your issue, said Aubrey, support at Gemini, regarding your account. I will be sure to follow up as soon as I have the next steps. If you have any questions in the meantime or additional details, please respond, yada, yada. Hi, David. You mentioned, said Team Gemini, that you use Wasabi Wallet to address Bitcoin's privacy/fungibility problem. Can you please elaborate on that? And David said, sure. Bitcoin's transactions are in effect traceable through chain analysis. This makes Bitcoin less fungible and therefore not as good as a medium of exchange, since many consider good money or money to have that as one of the features, to have fungibility. Not that it's capable of being infected, each dollar bill or whatever currency, with fungus or some sort of mold spores that just creep along it, or that it is transmissible in that way. But basically that every single unit of Bitcoin is the same as others. But if certain Bitcoin has gone through a mixing service and then been spat out to your wallet, then it's already tainted because it's gone through that mixing service. It's got a history attached to it, and an exchange, for example, might not like that history attached to those specific coins. And it could be the same if those coins had been used, for example, for money laundering or terrorist financing or something like that. They could be blacklisted. Those outputs or inputs, whatever you want to look at them from in that regard, and therefore they are treated differently, those Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency, and that means that it has reduced fungibility. So that is what this person's talking about. It's just kind of funny to me in a way that they were so ballsy enough to try this argument with Gemini. But anyway, continuing. By using Wasabi Wallet, I am doing my part, said David, to make Bitcoin's transactions less traceable and therefore better. It is similar to running a full node. Gemini said, hi, David. Due to a recent account review, Gemini has determined your account must be closed. Ouch! It did not work. At this time, we are not able to elaborate on the specifics for this decision, although I think this is pretty obvious. If your account contains a balance of USD and or any supported digital assets, you have 5 days from the receipt of this email to withdraw the entirety of your funds, at which point your account will be closed. So that was pretty much it. That is not going to fly. So if you have your accounts frozen in exchange, it might not work in your favor to say, I'm trying to support fungibility. You're not really changing fungibility for the entire Bitcoin ecosystem, but I understand standing in solidarity of it, but it definitely seemed like he was trying to kind of be a wise guy, and it just did not work out in his favor. Although I think I personally feel like it's wrong to just shut somebody's account like that without sanctions, for example, against Wasabi Wallet or specific things like that. But whatever, I guess it's their platform. So I guess they're not losing much revenue, since less and less people actually care about privacy and fungibility like that. Especially if you're on Gemini, you probably don't care anyway that much. So it doesn't really impact their bottom line very much to go after the few users like that who are probably using mixing services. So Perry Ann of the CFTC, actually, I'm sorry, not of the CFTC. Someone had asked the CFTC Commissioner Christy Goldsmith Romero, Perry Ann had asked this, at a conference, if there's going to be a conference for the Chamber of Digital Commerce, if there's going to be any sort of policy implications now that Ethereum has moved to proof of stake. And Christy Goldsmith of the CFTC had this to say. Let me show it to you.
When we look at Ethereum and all these other products, we are looking to see what is a commodity. CFTC has long taken the position that Ethereum is a commodity. The definition of commodity is very, very broad. So I continue to take the position that Ethereum is a commodity, even with proof of stake. When we look at Ethereum and all these other products, we are looking to see what is a commodity. CFTC has long taken the position that Ethereum is a commodity. The definition of commodity is very, very broad. So I continue to take the position that Ethereum is a commodity, even with proof of stake.
There, now you heard it 2 times. The CFTC is trying to keep the baby in the cradle of or at least in their arms or in their possession, and treat Ethereum not like a security, but more like a commodity. And I would say that based on everything that we've looked at over the years, every single argument, it's going to be more difficult for the SEC to prove that Ethereum is a security versus having the CFTC prove that it's a commodity. But personally, I think it's something brand new. I think that there should be a brand new, if you must regulate it, make a brand new branch to regulate it, because cryptocurrencies are brand new, and trying to use dated, century-old plus regulations in order to regulate something like this is just proving to be very, very difficult. Although it is, again, more favorable, in my opinion, a position to have for the CFTC that they should be the ones to regulate it. And that's perhaps why you even see like this charge that we talked about with Digitex early on. They're trying to enforce since they feel like it's in their purview, cryptocurrencies, or at the very least Ethereum, as we see here, whether it's proof of stake or not. So this is quite bullish, I would say. At least it's not bearish. BlackRock has announced that they're going to be doing another crypto ETF after a week debut of their first one. BlackRock, the fund with the trillions and trillions, like $9 trillion, working with the Fed with the mortgage-backed security market and all sorts of other things. BlackRock has announced another ETF that is going to be focused on the metaverse. It's going to be called the iShares Future Metaverse Tech and Communications Exchange Traded Fund, or ETF. We do not have a ticker, no official fees, but we know this because of a Thursday filing, so yesterday, with the SEC. This is going to be tracking, of course, different companies that are going to be held in this ETF. So it could have things like NFTs, digital asset companies, metaverse-specific companies, and so on. But it's interesting that they're not giving up, because it says here on Bloomberg, for example, that interest in the digital assets ecosystem has plunged this year as the prices for just about every crypto token have tanked. Bitcoin has plummeted 60% in 22, and Ether has declined as well amidst this so-called crypto winter. Yet you still see that BlackRock is building through the winter. So maybe they finally learned the game. Although we have heard last from the CEO here, the head of BlackRock, back in October 15, 2021. You can see here on news.bitcoin that he kind of is with the Jamie Dimon camp, someone who is a staunch Bitcoin critic, the CEO of Chase. So he's called Bitcoin worthless and many other things throughout the years. And BlackRock, when people asked him if he was still in the Jamie camp, he said, I'm probably more on the Jamie Dimon camp, but I am fascinated by so many people's interest in cryptocurrencies. It's fantastic. I love the fact that more people, this is Larry Fink, by the way, the CEO of BlackRock again. I love the fact that more people are looking to invest in different things. I believe this is a very good positive action. yeah, I guess if you're running funds and allow people to get into investments through it, then yeah, you want people to be interested in investing. That should be downright obvious. And it seems that they were at least excited that there would be different products from which they could get fees from. But do they support cryptocurrencies as some sort of revolutionary financial system? It definitely doesn't seem to be the case. Fink did say also, I'm not a student of Bitcoin, and whether it's going to go, I can't tell you whether it's going to 80,000 or zero. Well, you or anyone else. But I do believe that there is a huge role for a digitized currency, and believe that that's going to help consumers worldwide, whether it's Bitcoin or something else, or more of a governmental official digital currency, a digital dollar that will play out. He said, this great new technology, it's attracted so many people. It's fantastic seeing how people have become so fascinated about it that they are showing interest in this. Whether this is going to play out in the long run, well, we'll see. Fink finished, I see huge opportunities in digitized crypto, blockchain-related currency, and that's where I think it's going, and that's going to create some big winners and some big losers. It seems like Bloomberg is calling BlackRock a loser with its first crypto ETF, and they remain skeptical about this new metaverse ETF. It's not the first ETF that is about the metaverse or whatever. There's a handful of funds that are already trading. It says here the Round Hill Ball Metaverse ETF, and there are products from Subversive and Fidelity that are also out there. So we will see if there's actually going to be much of a demand for their new product. So there was a Tornado Cash developer who was arrested after sanctions that were posed against this smart contract. And 2 days after the sanctions were placed from OFAC and the Treasury, they arrested this gentleman, Alexei Pertsev, who was a developer of Tornado Cash. And he has not been charged at all yet with any sort of crime that we know of. And he will stay in jail until at least November now, because according to his wife, his appeal has been dismissed. It has not been granted. His wife, Ksenia Malik, according to the block.co, fears that all of his property is going to be seized and auctioned off. After the day he was arrested, they took his car, and they're working basically to sell that car. Is this legal? It looks like the wife is like, well, I guess it can happen, right? Because that's what they did. They took his car, and she's expecting they're going to take even more stuff. She basically said they haven't released him because the Dutch authorities where he is arrested are afraid that Alex will return to Russia. Although if he returns there, he will be sent to war, since we know that they are getting more and more people, rounding them up to get them prepared for battle out there. So I would say this is kind of crazy. At the moment, only a car, but I think they can come, she said, and take something else at any moment. Prosecutors will sell all of our legal property at auction, leaving me with nothing. That is frightening to hear. And as others are pointing out, the West acting in this sort of way, like Ryan Sean Adams from Bankless had a tweet about that, where he was saying, this isn't China, this isn't Russia, this is the West who has jailed somebody without any sort of charge, taken their car and possibly other property to auction it off. What is happening right now? What are we becoming? I think that's been clear for some time with the direction that we've been heading, but very troublesome, I would say, for Alexei as well. And disappointing to see someone else actually who's been jailed for, I guess, some sort of relation to cryptocurrency. Ross Ulbrich had this to say. Very disappointing. I just wanted to share with you. Tomorrow I'll begin my 10th year in prison. I don't know what to say. I screwed up. I ruined my life and caused a lot of pain. When I look back and see my many mistakes, I feel immense regret. And someone had posted this, the sentencing disparity, which is insane considering Ross Ulbrich is serving double life plus 40 years without parole. Even though he's been generally a good guy, there's basically no chance, it appears, of him getting out. But you had like the biggest drug seller on the Silk Road getting only 10 years. You had the co-owner of Silk Road 2.0 released, no sentence. corrupt federal agent on Silk Road, 8 years. And yet you had Ross Ulbricht, creator of Just an Exchange, double life plus 40 years without parole. Some sort of weird example that was tried to be set there. And you got to feel for this guy at the very least, you know. It says here, clemency for Ross wrote, Ross's trial charges and convictions were all non-violent. He's a first-time offender. He's shown exemplary conduct in prison and helps others dailies. All other Silk Road defendants got 10 years or less, including the men behind the larger Silk Road 2.0. Ross doesn't deserve to die in prison. I have to agree with that one. Hopefully he has a nice weekend. And yeah, I actually didn't get a chance. I don't know. I pulled this one up because I was going to read it, but I didn't have a chance to sift through it before I started this. But let's take a look. Fed rate hikes are pushing credit market toward dysfunction, Bank of America says. Credit stress is near critical zone. Ooh. According to the strategist, Fed needs to slow down hikes or face difficult fixes, they say. Yeah. I mean... Not anything that seems like too much of a surprise if you've been following alternative media for some time. And even the mainstream media is moving into covering more and more of this. It's nice to shut off the news, though, and step away. And hopefully you can do that. And just take a break from crypto markets and the news media that realizes that the best way that they can get clicks oftentimes is using fear and propagating that way. It's kind of disappointing, but try to keep that peace on the inside, guys. I thank you so much for joining me, and I will finish with a quote of the day that I found kind of inspiring here by Paulo Coelho, poet. I can choose either to be a victim of the world or an adventurer in search of treasure. It's all a question of how I view my life. I like that one. And I hope that you appreciate it as well. Thank you so much for joining me, continuing to support the show in many ways. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the content. Please subscribe if you're new. Please share the video with those who care about crypto and staying on top of the cycle of news and rumors and everything else, and I'll be happy to provide you that information as I can. Any feedback is always valuable in the comment section down below to make the show better for you, and I wish you a fine weekend as well. Take care, much love everyone, and stay cryptic. Peace.